This episode is sponsored by Kerkerking Barberio, your trusted partner in tax, audit, and outsourced accounting services. Serving Sarasota, Manatee, and the greater Tampa Bay area for over 50 years, KB helps clients achieve their personal and business goals. Visit kbgrp.com to learn more. Hello and welcome to the Business Observer from the Corner Office podcast. I'm Mark Gordon, managing editor of the Business Observer. Today's guest is Bill Daubmann, CEO and founder of My Shower Door. Bill, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mark. Good to be here.
Yes, it's going to be a good conversation, and you and I have known each other for quite some time. You were a top entrepreneur for the Business Observer several years ago, and I recall going down to, you guys were just building one of your glass factories in Fort Myers. It was we were walking in a construction zone, which was pretty cool. But so before we get into some of the details about your career, tell us about My Shower Door, where you guys are now, sort of what's your niche in the marketplace?
Well, obviously with the name My Shower Door, we specialize in the heavy glass frameless shower doors. When I first started back in Massachusetts, before we moved to Florida, we were doing all types of shower doors, the framed ones with the aluminum metal all the way around, with that wavy textured, what they call obscure glass. But, you know, that was in the early 80s before the advent of the heavy glass frameless. Fortunately, I was connected with a license agreement with Mr. Shower Door out of Norwalk, Connecticut, and ran that in the greater Springfield, Massachusetts area for almost 15 years before we sold that and moved to Florida. When we moved to Florida, we decided only to go with the frameless shower doors, where people are familiar. It's heavier glass, heavier hardware, doesn't have the metal framing out the door like a picture frame. So it gives the people a more open look and obviously much easier to clean, much more aesthetically pleasing in the bathroom. Mark, when you were here filming the construction, that was over 5 years ago, because we just celebrated our 5th year anniversary in this building, which is now a 60,000 square foot state-of-the-art glass manufacturing and distribution facility, as well as the headquarters for My Shower Door.
Yeah. No, it's amazing, and actually leads me to the next question, which is, I think in Southwest Florida, definitely Fort Myers, Naples, but Sarasota to a large extent too, and even the rest of Florida, you're known as the My Shower Door guy, but you have this really interesting background that involves both ice hockey and also a family tragedy, your son. And so tell us about that motivation and that sort of part of your life and career that led to where you are today.
Oh, it's crazy. It's funny how things that happen change your course and change your history. I had no intention of being an entrepreneur, but when Keith got sick at an early age, I think he was 11 at the time, he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease. I was a professional hockey referee traveling throughout New England. And it was very difficult for my wife to take my other son to school and then get Keith in for treatments. So we had to figure out how we could get him in for treatments and still make some money without obviously taking days off constantly from work. So we started up a closet organizing business first back in 1986. And then when the economy turned bad, we decided to add shower doors as an extra SKU to our product line. And that was the home run we needed. So Keith got better, started to work for the business as he was in high school. My youngest son started working for the business, and the 4 of us have continued to this day. Right now, fast forward some 20 some odd years, we're sitting in Southwest Florida with 192 employees, 10 locations throughout the state, a glass manufacturing and distribution plant located in Lee County.
Yeah, it's really remarkable growth. And one thing has always stood out to me is your ability to adapt, right? We hear that a lot from business owners, and those challenges of like, how do you adapt to changes in the marketplace? I remember talking to you once and you said, well, client came to us and said, we can't find this kind of glass anywhere. And you're like, okay, we'll just build it for you. How did you develop that mindset of sort of adapting to meet whatever the market is having in front of you?
I guess that's my inner personality, is I just want to be a people pleaser, and it's translated throughout the company. We take care of our customers. But most entrepreneurs are going to succeed if they listen to the market. And customers came to us, and even my own installers that saw the pitfalls and the shortcomings of those framed shower doors thought that we would be doing the customer base a big disservice if we continued with those frame doors and we moved into frameless doors. And boy, they were right. And I listened to our employees, I listened to our customers, and I still do to this day. If I get a phone call that somebody's unhappy about something, I'm not going to say, oh, they're a nut job. I'm going to listen to them and take what they say as constructive criticism, and make ourselves a better company because of it.
Yeah, that ability to listen is certainly important. Is there, would you point to one or two tipping points in, the sort of lifespan of my shower door that said, wow, this is, 192 employees, that's pretty big, like, to get to that point? What are some of those points 5, 6, 10 years ago that stand out in your mind?
Well, first of all, the fact that we made the decision to open a manufacturing plant, because for the first 10, 15 years down here, we were buying glass from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And that didn't, they were good. And I call them the best of the worst. Traditionally, glass manufacturing, they don't have high quality standards. So, as you know, there's what they call the business triangle, right? You've got price, quality, and time. And it says pick two because you can't have all three. Well, we figured if we started our own manufacturing plant, we could control all three. We could control the time that it takes to make the glass, the quality of the glass when it comes out, and we have a better control of pricing because we are the manufacturer. That was a big stepping stone in the business and allowed us to really grow.
Yeah, and so now that you're at this point, almost 200 employees and all this growth you talked about, if you're talking to other startup entrepreneurs, maybe not even in the manufacturing or glass space, what is some advice you would provide to young, it doesn't have to be young, but new business owners, new startups?
Mark, I talk to them all the time, and I guess the first thing before they start laying out all their plans is ask, why are you getting into business? What is your personal goal? Why do you want to do it? And do you have the time to do it? A lot of people are saying they want to get into business so they don't have to work the 40-hour work week. I'm going, God bless you, man, because it's an 80-hour work week plus if you're going to
Right.
be self-employed. So that's not a good reason. But what's your passion? What do you really know about? And then go from there. Then the second is, do you have goals set? Do you have a product that you know, or is it only a startup and you don't know if the consumers are going to buy it? Marcus Lemonis always says you got the three P's: product, price, and people. And you got and a process. I'm sorry, not price. Product, process, and people. So if you're going to scale, you have to have a process so that even if I'm not in the picture, the business can still run. And you have to have a product that's wanted, and then train those people to run that process. So those are the big things. And I see it all the time in startups where the owner is very good at that, but they don't have that business sense yet. How do I grow? How do I get financing? How do I manage my receivables, my payables, my inventory? All the other behind the scene items that I'd say that you really have to focus on.
Yeah, it's almost like, in a way, you're saying too that the success that you have now that people see, that comes after those hours, after those 80-hour work weeks, and you're probably still putting in, I'm sure, 70-hour work weeks. I don't know, have you slowed down a little bit now that your sons are more involved?
Yeah, personally, I have because we've hired management. We've gotten to the point where we have an overall general manager, we have department managers, regional sales managers, finally. But I've slowed down maybe on the hours that I come into the office, but I don't slow down in my mind and looking for new opportunities and growth.
Yeah, for sure. So you talk about the leaders, general manager, and different people that have you sort of grown in the business. What do you look for in leaders? What stands out in you when you're thinking about promoting somebody or looking for the next leader of your company?
Yeah, leaders to me are all about attitude. Can they lead a team? Can they teach the next people in line to become leaders and leave a legacy behind them? You could be the best leader in the world, but if you don't have backup in case something happens, that doesn't do you any good. We want everybody to succeed in this business, and we need to work it all the way through the rank and file So our leaders, I want them to continually be coaches so that people at this point that are underneath them can rise to the top also. That's how we grow a big, solid company.
Yeah, and you think about like the people under you. I was listening to another podcast recently about leadership and talked about that challenge of knowing each person on your team and how they respond to things differently. And that's something I think that I've seen myself grow as a leader. Right, you have to be able to figure out what motivates that person and how to talk to different people on your team. How have you experienced that?
Yeah, one of the biggest things that we learned over the years when we had a difficult time getting help, we had to look at ourselves as the problem and say, how are we going to fix this? Well, we're going to fix it because we're going to change our attitude. And now we let everybody know that we work for them, they don't work for us. Everything that we do is to build the company and give them the tools to succeed and then coach them in succeeding. And when they do that, we ultimately gain that. If you look at it a different way, that you're a leader and you'll do what I tell you to do because I'm the boss, that's very negative leadership and it creates a counterculture. We want to create a culture where people want to be knocking at our doors because they want to work for us because they know the type of people we are and the type of company we are.
Yeah, for sure. And what advice have did you receive early on, or none of your earlier? What advice have you received in your career that stands out?
I think that is one of the biggest right there is to realize that we work for the employees. On every single thing we do, we lead by example, we lead by coaching. And once you get that team there, then all the ideas start popping and we're working as a cohesive unit. I learned that from my years in sports. I see the teams that thrive because the coach has that same type of an attitude and he's built just that championship type culture. That's what we want here.
Yeah, I mean, I know you spent obviously a lot of time in New England, so right, it comes to mind. It's the Bill Belichick just do your job motto, right? Like,
Do your job and have fun. I
yes,
That's the one thing Belichick didn't have was the have fun part of it. I want you to do your job, bring others up with you, and have fun doing it.
yes.
And that
Well,
translates to the consumer so well.
yeah, do your job and have fun. Absolutely, because they're around that environment. Although, and this is way off topic, have you sort of followed or seen Belichick what he's doing post coaching? He's having like a great time, like being on these TV shows and laughing, and it's not the Belichick that we saw 5 years ago.
No, it's not. It's not. I think a lot of the pressure is off now.
Yeah.
There was a tremendous amount of pressure and a lot of things going on, and now it's off. I think he's resigned to the fact that he's not coaching right now. He's not under the gun. He's trying to finally live a life because don't forget he dedicated his whole life to football.
Yes. And it's the NFL, so he might be back on the sideline. I mean, who know, strange things happen for sure. Um, so we've talked a lot about the success and the growth. What sort of take me through the other side? Is there a setback or a mulligan you wish you didn't make a certain decision or something that happened that you've learned from over your career?
Uh, yeah, probably a couple of things, and they weren't major mistakes, but there were things that if I had to do over, I would do. And the first thing is marketing the company. Uh, Early on, I mean, we were bootstrapping. I didn't have money and I hated to go to a bank for a loan and start off in debt. So we advertised, but very little. But now that I see the benefits of marketing and advertising and promoting, I would have started that much heavier, much earlier, and we would have been way ahead of schedule where we are now. I also see that as we open up more stores. We just this year opened up our first store outside of the state of Florida. One of my sons bought a house up in the greater Charlotte area in North Carolina. Found out that it's just a great area and there was a need for a good frameless shower door company. And we opened up there. And I if you don't do the right marketing, nobody's going to know about you. So marketing, I think, was the big thing. And then the other is really pay attention to your inventory. Um, on our type of a business, we can be inventory heavy. And this is where I brought in experts on inventory control and turnover, uh, how many times you roll over your inventory during a year. Those are things that I really didn't pay attention to early on. But as I grew this thing, it's very important because your money's tied up in inventory and you got to keep track of it.
Well, for sure, the bigger you get, obviously, the more
Yeah,
inventory you're going to need to serve that customer base. Go back to marketing for a second. You guys are in the NIL space. I find that really fascinating. I haven't written a lot about it. Tell us about how you got into that, and are you still doing things like that today?
we are. It's funny you say that. We're in our fourth year with a boy that came out of Bishop Verot High School here in Florida. His father was the mayor of Bonita Springs, and he is a walk on the Michigan football team, which is amazing. So he wasn't a big name player. He's an offensive lineman. His name is Peter Simmons. And when the NCAA allowed the NIL agreements, I think we were the first ones on board. There was another company up in the Tampa area, I think it was College Hunks, that signed somebody. And then there was somebody over in Miami that signed a female gymnastic player for some energy bars. But Peter's been a very good ambassador to us for My Shower Door. Um, and because he's not a big name player, the cost was not that high. Now, Friday night, I had dinner with the president of FGCU and their athletic director. And it's amazing what's going to be coming down the road through the NCAA. There's going to be a huge change in these NIL agreements and how the payouts from NCAA occur. And it all started back 4 years ago when this first NIL approval came through.
It's pretty, yeah, it's pretty wild. The NIL, we're sitting here talking about it, mid September, and college football is like just underway, and it's pretty wild. It is the Wild West, right? Because there's a lot of let's give money here and here, here. So you think you've gotten some good return, some good ROI, as they say, you've gotten on this with Peter.
Yeah, it does. And we do podcasts with Peter periodically. He gives us the update. And if you follow college football, probably the biggest rivalry ever in college football is Michigan, Ohio State. And God, the first 3 years Peter's been here, they beat Ohio State. So they're going on four in a row. They're going to try this year. So, yeah, there's been a lot of publicity. Locally, all the news stations picked it up because, I mean, they're national champions.
Yeah, yeah, very
I
cool,
mean, we took a
awesome.
gamble, right? We took a gamble on an unknown kid, and it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's just an as you point out, it's like a new way of kind of showcasing your business and where you are, and as you
Yeah.
point out, that marketing is so important to let customers know you're there. So, what can we expect from My Shower Door? You mentioned new in North Carolina. What's when you think about we're coming to the end of 2024, what can we expect from My Shower Door next year?
Well, we're slightly behind. This is the first time in the history of any of our companies that we've actually not outgrown the previous year's revenue. We're only 2% behind, so we're getting a big push because we don't want to go backwards. But we want to open up more locations. We opened a factory called D3 Glass back in 2013 as we grew our business vertically. And D3 Glass has already been named Manufacturer of the Year in Lee County. Uh, they're growing exponentially. Not only do they provide all the glass for My Shower Door, but we also wholesale it to other glass shops in the area. Well, we bought some big machinery and we'll be looking into the safety glass industry. We'll be looking at bulletproof glass, intrusion deterrent glass for schools and public buildings. That'll come out of the D3 side. For My Shower Door, you'd expect us to continue to grow as we're shipping glass up to Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, we probably should open up some more in Florida and maybe Georgia and drop glass on the way there as we go up to Charlotte. So we'll continue our expansion through the southeast region of the United States. And then who knows? I mean, our intention always is to grow it into a national name. Once we get a good regional scent there and everybody knows the processes, then we're going to gear up to blow it out nationally.
Awesome. My Shower Door National Company. I love it. Bill, before we let you go, I have three rapid fire questions.
Fire
All
away.
right, here we go. Would you rather go on a beach vacation or a mountain vacation? To the mountains. I shouldn't say mountain.
Well, it's funny. I'd take the mountains. I just did. I just came back from Denver and Vail and Breckenridge. So mountains. That was
Awesome.
easy, Mark.
Mountain. All right. What is the most used app on your phone?
Um, Facebook. Facebook is an app, so I'd say
Yeah.
Facebook. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Last question. Should breakdancing be an Olympic sport?
Wow. Based on the other Olympic sports that I've seen, I'd say why not? My traditional feelings are no. That's more entertainment, but you do have to be athletic to be able to perform it. I guess I can understand it. You're asking me, should it? I'm going to go with no.
Excellent. I probably agree. All right, Bill Daubmann, my shower door. Thank you so much for joining us on the From the Corner Office podcast.
Thanks, Mark. It was great. That flew by. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Business Observer From the Corner Office podcast. I'm your host, Mark Gordon. This podcast was produced by Reed Corley of the Corley Company in Sarasota. To hear more episodes of From the Corner Office podcast, go to businessobserverfl.com.